Hello friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy and today I'm going to give you a tour of my favorite tarot guidebooks. There's so much talk about deck tours and looking at decks where the guidebook really is sort of like a bonus, not necessarily discussed in the same way as the deck is. And I have multiple guidebooks that I absolutely love, independent of the decks. So I'm here today to tell you about my favorite guidebooks. Whether or not I resonate with the deck, I'll tell you about that as we go. Just because the guidebook is in this collection doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the deck. I want to be clear about that. Some of these I love the deck and the guidebook. Some of these honestly don't even know where the deck is. I store most of these, minus one, inside of the collector's edition box of the Sickle and Seed Oracle. I do not have this Oracle. I really wanted the Citadel Oracle. So my friend Amy was very generous and purchased the box that had both decks and shared the Citadel Oracle with me. So I'm going to start with a book that does not fit in the box, and that is the Prism of Visions guidebook. This book is a chunk. This is one of the heaviest books of the size I've ever felt. It's hefty. It's hefty like Model Albuscat. One side is the guidebook for the Prism of Visions Tarot, and then the back of the book, or the front, however you have it flipped, is a guidebook for the Cosmovisions Oracle. I have both of these decks. I use both of these decks. What I love so much about this guidebook isn't necessarily the words in the guidebook, which I do really enjoy, but it's being able to study the cards on a larger scale, having more frame of visual reference for the cards. Like, for example, in the five of chalices, the 5 of cups, I'm dropping things. You can actually see how the figure is losing hold of these 5 cups. And I think it's interesting in the card itself. I feel like it looks like he has lost them, where in the guidebook it's like, oh, or is he throwing them away? Is he dropping what no longer works? I think it just adds a lot of frame of reference for the individual cards. And because the cards are designed that they create a storyscape when you lay out the entire suit, I think sometimes, for me anyway, I can lose the frame of reference for each individual card within that story, and the guidebook can really clear up what doesn't make a lot of sense in the cards, or what I don't understand when looking at a singular card. But this guidebook is stunning, and all of the pictures are just in full color and really gives a much more well-rounded look at the artwork that we can't get in just the standard size card. I think I may have said this, I don't know. The decks are in, the books are in no particular order except for the last one, which is my favorite. Another guidebook I really enjoy for the majors is the guidebook for the Elemental Power Tarot. I'm not a super fan of the minors because it does move in the number and elemental significance, not so much the traditional RWS meaning. So I can get kind of stuck in it, and I really don't like. I'm not a fan of this deck. But anyway, I'm not because of the minors. I'm not a fan. The majors are beautiful, just like in the guidebook. The guidebook for the majors is absolutely phenomenal. The perspective that this guidebook takes is it actually puts your frame of reference as the reader, puts you in the picture. So in the Hierophant, you've walked upon this little meditation grotto. And there is a little description of the card, a guidance, a challenge, and then the herb or the apothecary. I don't know if I said that right. I'm not going to say it again in case I didn't. But the element that's in the card as well. It's wonderful for really pulling yourself into the card. I love the guidebook for the majors, but as I'm walking through and studying the majors with the guidebook and moving through this process, I mean, look at Temperance with her cup and the water and then the plant. It's just, and then the devil coming out of the thicket. Just, it's stunningly written guidebook for the majors. But I really feel that once I finish this process, this journaling process, I will probably get rid of this guidebook, and probably the deck then as well. But it's a really nice, it's a very, very nice study of the major arcana. I love this deck and this guidebook so much. The guidebook for the Affirmators Tarot. Now this deck, if you've seen it, is very childlike. It almost feels like a storybook you would read for kids, read to children. But let me tell you, this guidebook, it is snarky and it just calls you on your crap. And it's beautiful. Each card has just a little paragraph of a write-up and a little affirmation. Let's see if I can find one that's Karma is a meticulous accountant. It's lovely. It's really, really well written. Let's see what the Tower says. The Tower is always a fun one. Like the lightning struck tower in this card, your life is about to undergo a sudden and potentially radical change. But before you rush out and buy lightning insurance, know that this change is actually much needed. It's never pleasant to watch your ivory towers crumble around you, but once they do, you can start living a life that is destined to be richer, fuller, and a lot more radical than ever before. Anyone know of a modest 2-bedroom ranch for sale? I love this deck. And I love this guidebook. Just a really nice tongue-in-cheek, but with teeth. The Spacious Tarot, the guidebook for this deck, is very warm. It brings the challenging aspects to a place where I'm able to feel them. They're able to land. They don't feel, I'm not smothered. I'm not panicked. It's really this, okay, this is here. Now, what are you going to do with it? It has 2 keywords and then a little bit of a write-up. It's just a really well-written, well-balanced guidebook. The majors have about 1.5 pages, and the minors have a single page. I use this guidebook all the time because the quartz are changed to Child, Explorer, Guardian, and Elder. And I've had this deck for probably a year, and I still can't keep them straight. The guidebook for the Lightseers Tarot, this is one of 2 Chris Ann guidebooks in my box. And again, Herschel hair everywhere. Herschel's my cat, in case you don't know. This is a beautiful, beautiful deck. And I really enjoy the way that the guidebook is written as well. There's the Light Seer, the Shadow Seer, and then an affirmation at the end. So instead of looking at reversals, it brings, again, that invitation to look at things differently. So I just happened to open to the 9 of Wands. The Light Seer is determination, the final push, excitement for what's to come, etc. The Shadow Seer, the need to open up and trust people. Holding on to old stories, the need to follow through and finish what you started. So it still takes like where we could shift our perspective, where we could shift our attention. It doesn't say let your guard down. It's, can you open up and trust people? And then the affirmation for the Nine of Wands is, I push beyond my own perceived limitations and remain open and trusting as I do. Solid, solid guidebook. Now, the guidebook for the Mesquite Tarot. I bought this deck, I don't even know how long ago. I have the pocket size because it was one of those, it was going out of print. I didn't know that I would really use it, but I didn't. It was all FOMO. I'm honest. I bought this deck 100% FOMO. I have not connected with the deck. It's in my office somewhere, but this guidebook, this is one of my two favorites. Don't make me choose. This is one of my two favorite guidebooks. We have a picture, or a black and white drawing of the card. And then we have like what is poetry, basically. We have the name of the card, a couple of keywords, a nice long write-up, and then a couple of the keywords for the reversal. And then I open to Judgment. I'm just going to read a part of Judgment. Judgment is a sudden pull, a quick drawing up into the sunlight, into awareness, truth, an abrupt call to unification. Judgment appears when something is asking to be realized. Some awakening is bubbling at the surface. Consider how the lessons you've collected in difficulty might be helpful in choosing what's next. That's only like half of Judgment. This guidebook, this guidebook, I think if my house were in danger, if I had to leave my house, I would grab a couple of decks and this guidebook. It's beautiful. The Five of Arrows. Winning feels so delicious, but getting what you want without caring how you get there, who you hurt, how does that leave you? Are you feeling full? The victor takes all 5 arrows, and now they have to carry the weight of how they were won. Just beautiful. Oh, such a great guidebook. I have one in here that is not my favorite. I'm not sure how it got in there. I'm going and switching up the order of these. The Samnite Tarot, this guidebook, I really put in with the Prism of Visions guidebook. I love having a bigger version of each card. A color. Oh, I just want to cut it up and eat it for dinner. Being able to see a bigger version of the card and getting the creator, the artist, connection to the card. Like we learn, for example, let's find the Hermit. So in the Hermit, for example, we learn that he actually forged this, the photographer and the guidebook writer actually forged this lantern in, as a project. I want to say it was, during his bachelor degree. So just, there's so much not only about the deck creator's intention with the cards, but also, the intention and the detail behind how some of the cards were created. There is for example, a piece of fabric that's used as the shroud for one character and then is used as like the carpet in another card. And just while we're here, the Six of Swords. I mean, the Six of Swords is my favorite card, and this may be my favorite representation of the Six of Swords. This guidebook, I guess I should have mentioned everything I've talked about so far, except for the 2 that are full color. Everything I've talked about other than these 2 have come directly with the deck. The book of Prism of Visions and the Samnite Tarot companion book were separate purchases. As was the Pagan Otherworlds, notes from the Pagan Otherworlds. This was also an additional purchase. I bought this deck completely on a whim. I'm honestly still not sure why I bought it. It is not my art style. It is not my aesthetic. And I love this deck. Like it is a great, solid, very fair, but firm reader for me. This guidebook has black and white, full-sized versions of each card, with a write-up and a couple of keywords. I have found that this guidebook, what I love so much about it is it talks about details about the card, of course, but you know what the lilies mean, and you know, the ivy, and really just some of the symbology that is really only applicable to this deck that I never would have known. I don't know that that has helped me like in how I interpret the card, but they've definitely helped me bond with this deck. Again, that is 0% my aesthetic, you know, except like a lot of the masculine characters have red hair and my husband's a ginger. But other than that, this deck should not be for me. And this guidebook has really helped me bond to this deck. So next to the last one I want to talk about is the giant guidebook, the workbook, I think it is, for the Muse Tarot. I don't know where this is purchasable at any point currently. I want to say somebody was doing, this has been a year plus ago, someone was doing a deck rehoming, decluttering on Instagram, and she had a version of this deck, but the deck itself was damaged, and I'm like, I don't care, I want the guidebook. This is another Chris Ann guidebook, the same creator as the Light Seers. I don't know, I did not connect with this deck at all, like absolute zilch zero, did not connect with it. I actually split it up and mailed it to people for snail mail readings. But this guidebook does a really good job of, again, full color picture of the card, lists the main message, keyword, creator musings, prompts, a big thing of inspiration, things to how to creatively work with this deck, and then a little piece of handwritten prose. Some of them have space for ways to I guess do they all have path working? They do. It was just hidden on this page. So there are path working visualizations. So example for the tower, I'm not going to read the tower again, so much tower, for justice. With a choice that lays before you, test the two doors of justice. What a great little, very small, but very clear path working visualization. For strength in meditation, ride the lion to the pyramids. See, we have a little pyramid lion. As you travel, have a heart-to-heart courageous chat and talk about perceived limitations that hold you back. Tell him what you were afraid of and listen to his advice as he points out the fears that you no longer need to hold on to. This guidebook, this workbook, whatever this giant Muse Tarot book is, I absolutely love it. And I use it all the time. And I am not at all connected or bonded to the deck. And then, friends, we have my absolute favorite guidebook. It's the guidebook for the tiny little Kawaii Tarot. I want to say this deck is like $10 mass market. It comes in a horrible box, but this is the tiny little deck in a bag that I got jewelry in forever ago. But it's just a tiny little deck. It is a Pip Miners. It's the only deck I've shown you. I don't know why, but I decided to grab this one. It's just a cute little deck that absolutely reads me to filth. But the guidebook, it is 92 pages. And for each card, you have the visual representation of the card, the upright meaning, and the reverse meaning. And it's very cut and dry. It's a very nice, to me, this was my basic resource for the first year or so that I read tarot. I wasn't using this deck. I was using the Fountain Tarot, but this was my version of my little white book that I used. Because it gives this nice middle ground between this is the traditional understanding of the card, but this is what you can take from it. And it also gives the potential that, especially like the court cards, that this card could be about you or it could be someone in your life. So it really gives a lot of options about how to interpret each card. So the Two of Swords, for example, the Two of Swords represents a balance of almost equal forces, like all two cards. You may be finding yourself in the middle of a tough decision. It indicates a barrier that we create to protect ourselves. So take off your mask. Both choices may seem hard when making this decision. Burying your head in the sand will do nothing, and time will continue to pass. It's just clear, straightforward, not beating around the bush, but also like not ripping you to shreds either. This guidebook, I would not rescue it if I was leaving my house, because I could pick up this deck anywhere. If I had to take one guidebook with me, it would totally be the Mesquite Tarot. So I hope you've enjoyed the tour of guidebooks that I can't do without. I would love to know what guidebooks you have really connected with, what my collection of guidebooks in my cute little box may be missing. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next week. Until then, friends, bye.